I'm going to get us started. Yeah. Appreciate everybody coming back. Call this meeting back to order. Leading off our afternoon session, Mr. Anthony Delvescovo, who is the Vice President and Legal Counsel of MGM Resorts. We appreciate you coming up from the coast, Anthony, and we look forward to hearing what you've got to say on this topic. You're recognized.
All right, well, let me get mic'd up here. So, good afternoon, and again, my name is Anthony Delvescovo with MGM Resorts International. I am the Vice President and Legal Counsel for the Beau Rivage and the Gold Strike casinos. I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak today, and I especially want to thank you all for giving up your time today to conduct these hearings. It's a very important issue to the industry, and it seems like you guys are really taking it very seriously, and I appreciate you taking all of your day today to listen to what the industry and what the analysts have to say. I do have the pleasure of following some very good speakers this morning. I was following on from home. There are some duplicative areas in what I would like to say today, and I will try to take some of those out unless I feel like there's some distinguishments, or maybe I can add a little more color to what was said earlier today. I kind of got an idea that a lot of you have already, based on some questions, that you've already kind of done some research and probably have also talked to some of the people in the industry. I heard some questions concerning skins. I heard some questions concerning remote versus direct sign-up in person. And I do want to touch on those points and give you a perspective that MGM has based on our working in various different jurisdictions that vary on those particular points. But I do want to say that while those are some differences that some of the casinos may have in how they want to move forward with this type of a bill, I do believe that for the most part, the gaming industry is very united. We definitely, outside of one casino that I know of, I believe all the casinos want to see some type of a mobile sports betting bill move forward. We think that it's in the best interest of the industry. We think it's in the best interest of the state. And so I think we're very unified, but for a couple of positions. And I think based on the questions, you guys are kind of honed in on where our differences lie. The first one I'll take is skins. And I believe Mr. Asher did a great job this morning of discussing what skins are. And in reality, Mississippi has a system right now that we don't call it a skin. We call it a risk management company. There's a couple other names, but basically right now we have a system in place where we do deal with a third-party provider who is a brand, has an online brand. MGM has BetMGM. So we have BetMGM. There are, I don't know if you necessarily call it a skin in Mississippi, but we currently are operating under that type of a profile right now. So the difference is that some of the casinos want to have multiple skins like they do in other jurisdictions in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And the way I look at this and the perspective that I have on this is that right now we have 28 casinos, which basically opens us up to having 28 different brands, 28 online brands that are coming in. If we go to 3 skins, now we're talking about over 80 brands, online brands. I believe at some point we get some saturation. I believe that 28 is a lot. I think that 80-something is way too many. So from MGM's perspective, we're happy with where we are right now. We like how we're doing business. We like our online brand, BetMGM. There are some other great brands that I think that will come to Mississippi, and we'll get the best. On the issue of remote versus in-person sign-up, I heard a lot of conversation this morning, and I'll give you what our perspective is. First of all, I think from what I heard this morning, let me get my notes out and make sure I'm staying in line here. So first of all, I believe that Mississippi, as Executive Director Godfrey pointed out this morning, I think Mississippi closely resembles New Jersey more than it does a Nevada profile. Mississippi is restricted to geographical areas based on where gaming is allowed. Unlike some of the other jurisdictions. So I kind of get us closer to a New Jersey model. There's people that in the northeast part of the state that are not going to drive 4 or 5 hours to come and sign up at the casino. They're not casino people. It doesn't mean they don't like to bet on sports. But are those people actually betting on sports? Yes. And you heard Executive Godfrey this morning, Executive Director Godfrey this morning, discuss that people are betting illegally. They're betting through various websites. They've got bookies, and so they are betting right now. So if we have a rule, if we promulgate a rule that says there has to be direct in-person sign-up, I believe what we're going to wind up with is not getting those people to come in. You're going to get the folks that like to frequent the casinos, they're going to come, but the people that aren't really casino people right now, they're going to stay online, they're going to stay on their couch, they're going to get their app, and they're going to continue to bet with either their bookies, or they're going to continue to bet with the illegal offshore online companies, which is not good for Mississippi. I believe that we need to take in, those are the customers, those are the swing customers that we need to bring in right now to sort of swing our revenues, whether it be casino revenues or tax revenues. We need to bring those swing customers in. In addition, there was some discussion on whether we should wait 18 months versus go directly. And I believe that if we're going to have an online gaming where you're going to have remote setup, I don't understand why we have to wait 18 months. I believe that 18 months is a delay where we're not getting to those people that weren't going to come to the casinos anyway. We're delaying for a year and a half getting to those customers and allowing them to continue to bet illegally. If we're going to do it and it's going to be remote sign up, then we should go full forward. There's ways. I believe there's plenty of ways to get customers into the casino. We do it daily. You know, if we want to sign customers up at the casino, we could do a drawing. We could say the first 1,000 entrants have an opportunity to win a free car. Come to the casino and put your entry in. Also sign up. If you sign up, you get an entry. We can incentivize them with free rooms, or we can incentivize them with free buffets. So there's ways to get those folks in. I'm talking about the people that aren't going to come. They're not going to come because they're just not going to drive 4 or 5 hours to the coast or to Tunica to get online so they can start wagering. They'll stick with their illegal methods. Now, I also heard the testimony, and we heard what's going on in New Jersey with the remarkable numbers, and it's really nationwide. Sports betting has caught on. I'm glad that Mississippi had the wherewithal to be one of the first to market, and we did a great job, and we have a lot of great operators in this industry who invested heavily, and I believe we're doing a magnificent job of conducting sports wagering and also regulating it. So what we do see is online gaming now, as it goes to, or I should say mobile gaming, as it goes to states like New Jersey. We're seeing incredible numbers, 850 million, I believe Executive Director Godfrey said this morning. New Jersey has had 3 straight record months of 800 million type numbers. No matter how big or small Mississippi is in comparison, that's still very impressive. That still shows what the consumers want to do and what they feel comfortable with. They feel comfortable with looking at their app. We have some market research that we've done at MGM that shows that about 65% of our customers prefer utilizing a handheld device than standing in lines at kiosks or standing at a cage. They prefer the ease. It's more comfortable for them to go online and do it on the app. I want you to focus not so much on New Jersey, though, as if we look at a brand new gaming jurisdiction, one that started on November 1st, and it doesn't have 25 years of gaming like we do in Mississippi. And that's Tennessee. Tennessee started on November 1st, and their first week they did $27 million in sports wagering. I believe that is a very good comparison to what Mississippi. They have very similar populations. I believe that Mississippi, however, has a leg up on Tennessee. I believe that we have a very seasoned population as far as the gaming market. Like I said, 25 plus years. But if we're going to compare ourselves to someone, that should be a good comparison to say, look, there's a lot of upside to this. There's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of people that are wanting to have this amenity in addition to what they already have as far as going to the casino and participating in the wagering. I want to real quickly touch on Tennessee, and we've heard it before, but I think that it's important for me to reiterate that Tennessee is a competitor. There's people right now that are jumping across the state line, and they're utilizing their apps, and they're Mississippi folks. So in addition to the illegal wagering that's going on, there's Mississippians that are actually going to Tennessee. In New Jersey, if you look at the geofencing, the greatest area of pings in the state of New Jersey occur on the Hudson River, because all those people are coming in from New York, getting to the Jersey side of the Hudson, and placing their bet and then going back. The same thing is going to happen in Mississippi. It's going to happen in Tennessee. When Louisiana comes along, it's going to happen. If we don't have mobile and we don't have the opportunity to have statewide mobile, people are going to bop over along the borders of Louisiana. It's going to happen there's a possibility that Arkansas will be next. It's going to happen in Arkansas, and we've already seen what just a little racetrack in Arkansas can decimate a market in the Tunica market, taking it from a $1.2 billion market to a just over $500 million market. So competition can absolutely hurt what we've built here in the state of Mississippi. And Alabama is currently talking about it. I don't think they're as close as Arkansas, and I don't think, obviously Louisiana has passed the legislation, but those are other, we do have competition come. If we don't do it, they will. All right, so this is one of my favorite parts to discuss. Why? Okay, we understand that the revenues are going up, but why? Why is online being touted as this new tool that we can utilize? Obviously, yes, it reaches out to more people. So you have a lot more people that can utilize the app. They don't have to come to the casino, so you cast a lot larger net. But another feature to the online apps that is the in-play gaming, in-game betting, wagering. So I'd like to take you through this little example. So slots is the #1 producer for the casinos. Everybody knows that slots where the money is made. So why is slots a big producer? The hold's only 10%, right? We're only holding 10%. The hold in sports wagering is between 8 and 10%, closer to 10% in Mississippi based on the type of wager that we have. So the holds are almost exactly the same. So why is the hold in slots so much greater? Well, it's because of the volume that people are playing. We have these machines now to where you can hit the button, wait 10 seconds, hit the button, wait 10 seconds. You're getting multiple plays on that machine, right? Take a sports wager. You go up to the window. The game starts at 8 o'clock. You go up to the window. You put your $100 down. You go take a seat. You wait 4 hours. You had one bet in 4 hours on one game. With in-game betting, you can get up to 150 bets on an NFL game or a NBA game. So now you're increasing the volume tremendously. Instead of just getting one bet per game, you're getting up to 150, close to 175, depending on what online brand is offering as far as wagering. So you're creating more volume. Finally, I think that with mobile gaming, you do have an opportunity to cross-market your customers. Now you've reached out to customers, say in I don't know, Starkville or in Columbus, and they signed up remotely. Okay, they've never been to the casino, but they got the app. They signed up remotely. All of a sudden, we're starting marketing these folks. We're understanding what their habits are, what they like. We may send them a marketing tool to find out what kind of food they like or what kind of when their birthday is, And then we're going to market these folks, and we're going to get them to come down from Starkville, where before we weren't able to go get them. So it's a very useful marketing tool to allow us to go out there and mine more Mississippians and show them that we can provide the amenities of the bricks and mortar that are so important to our business. And I did put this down because we are in a sort of an enigma year with the coronavirus and the shutdowns that caused, as well as the hurricanes on the Gulf Coast and the shutdowns that's caused. And if you notice, hurricanes come during the fall, which is, football season. So anytime we shut down, we're basically shutting down the Gulf Coast to betting on any SEC games, where if we have surrounding states, they can go and bet those SEC games. If we have online gaming, we don't shut down during those times. We don't shut down during the coronavirus. We don't shut down during the Tunica floods. We don't shut down during the hurricanes. We still can provide a revenue source that will continue to allow the casinos to make money. When the casinos, what are the things that when shutdowns occur, we have to cut back in order to pay the expenses. So the more revenue that we can continue to bring in, the more we're able to cover our expenses, the less jobs that are lost, the more jobs that we keep. And it works twofold. The more, as you see, when we adopted sports wagering, the first thing the casinos went and did was enhanced their sports betting rooms. They went and made them bigger, created more jobs, created more amenities. The more money that we bring in, the more money we're going to invest in our properties. So it's going to lead to, I don't buy into the argument that I hear all the time, well, if you go online, then people aren't going to come to the casinos anymore. I just don't think that's true. I think that, like I said earlier, it gives us an opportunity to actually market people more. I don't think you're losing, if a guy is going to bet on a Wednesday afternoon NBA game, and he looks at his clock and he's in Hattiesburg, and he says, man, I need to get to the casino by 8 o'clock. He's going to say, you know what? I'm not going to bet on that game. Or maybe I'll call my bookie to bet on that game. You're not losing those people to online wagering. You're actually keeping those people. You're actually getting those people to bet with the industry who's in partnership with the state. Okay, we're remitting tax dollars based on those bets. So there's other reasons why I don't believe that that we're going to lose our bricks and mortar investments. And the biggest reason, I should have started off with this, is MGM right now operates huge casinos in Las Vegas and New Jersey. Those are two states where we have invested tremendous amounts of money into the bricks and mortar, just like we have in Mississippi. Well, I wouldn't be here today advocating for statewide mobile betting if we were losing money at our casinos in New Jersey and in Nevada. I wouldn't be here doing this. I would be calling Claire Hester and Capital Resources and say, look, we don't want it. It's not good for the industry. But that's not the case. The case is we're going to benefit, the bricks and mortar are going to benefit from going out there, getting more customers, offering better amenities, being able to cross-market our customers and bring them in for various offers such as free night stays or buffet tickets, for certain wagers, or maybe setting up tournaments or, special prizes for people who want to come in and gamble. So there's going to be those marketing opportunities, and we're very, very, very good at it. You see our advertisements. You see the way we try to entice. Mississippi is a tough market. We have to rely on a drive-in market that drives by a lot of slot houses, a lot of jurisdictions that surround us. It's very tough to get people into this state to gamble, but we do it, and I think we do a very good job of it. And on this particular subject, I think that restricting mobile betting actually keeps people out of the casinos. Again, when I say that people are picking up their phones and gambling right now on an illegal app or with an illegal bookie, those people are staying out of the casinos. We can't market them. We can't get to them. By getting them signed up, by getting them in our database, we can actually bring them to the casino. So those are some reasons why I don't buy into that argument There's also, and I'm going to try to quicken this up a little bit, and I'll go ahead and start reading off some of my notes a little bit so I go a little bit faster. I tend to talk too much. So what I've heard, about protections, and I think Executive Director Godfrey this morning did an excellent job of stating plainly that, look, this is it's tried and true. These apps, these mobile devices and online gaming has been tried in various states, especially New Jersey, which is, if they're funneling those type of dollars, that means there's a lot of wagers taking place. And Executive Director Godfrey said, I have full faith that we're going to be able to regulate it. But here's some things that MGM would put forward, that MGM International, Resorts International has more than 25 years of experience wagering operations. We have established industry standard compliance programs, including know your customer protocols, sophisticated age verification and geolocation technologies, integrity monitoring, and responsible gaming measures. We go on to state that New Jersey has proven that mobile signups and deposits can happen in a manner that upholds the highest levels of regulatory compliance, including age and identity verification, geolocation, and know your customer requirements. The offshore and illegal websites, they don't do any of that. They don't have any requirements. They don't have any gaming commission that's looking over them, and they aren't paying any taxes. I heard someone earlier mention, are there any revenue projections? There's a 2020 study done by Ayers and Krejcik. It's a report that estimated that Mississippi could see as much as a $58 million in online wagering per year. That would pretty much come close to doubling what we do in Mississippi right now. So if I think Executive Director Godfrey mentioned that we had 3.5 million in taxes, then double that will go to $7 million. I think there's much more upside. I think that you have some amazing operators in the state that will join with some great online brands that'll really be beneficial to the state. So, but that's a report. If you guys want to look at it again, it's 2020 Eilers, which is EILERS, and Krejcik, which is KREJCIK. I'll throw some closing stats at you. To date, there's 25 states that have legalized sports wagering. 14 of those, including, or 14 states and plus the Washington, D.C. have legalized mobile and online sports wagering. So there's already 15 jurisdictions ahead of us so far. And we were the first to market once we passed a sports wagering bill. That's where we're actually falling behind now. The convenience of mobile sports betting already exists in Mississippi. However, it is not regulated by any government entity. These bets are made on a legal market using apps that allow bets to be made using offshore operators. To be competitive against this market, regulated gaming operators must be able to provide customers with the product that they want. Mississippi was an early adopter of sports wagering in the U.S. We have seen how successful the program can run. And I'll end by stating that I feel very confident that Mississippi is going to eventually pass an online wagering legislation. But every year that we wait, we're leaving money on the table. We're letting other states get ahead of us. If we know we're going to do it, let's do it. Let's work hard. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's figure out the best way to do it. I trust this legislature, this Senate and the House to do the things like we've always done. And so if any help that I can be, or MGM, in providing any additional information, I'm always there. Any questions?
Any members of the committee have questions? Senator Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This may have been a question I should have asked Mr. Asher, but you mentioned you're from MGM, and I know you guys own 2 casinos here. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
If I were to go to the Beau Rivage, could I also register for the Gold Strike? Would I have that capability?
Yes, sir. You would register with BetMGM, which is our online brand that we utilize, currently for our in-house sports wagering. You would be able to register on our app and be able to gamble at both properties with that.
Are there other owners of multiple casinos in Mississippi?
Yes, I believe there's owners. Some casinos own up to some owners own up to 5 casinos in the state. Some own 2, 3. So yes, sir, there are those.
And they'd have that same capability within, I guess, depending on the way they're structured.
And it also depends on how you're setting up your app. For instance, if Gold Strike wanted to brand themselves as a ABC app and Beau Rivage wanted to be BetMGM, then the two wouldn't cross over. So if you have 5 different properties and you go with 5 different online retailers, when you come in and sign up, you would have to actually sign up for each one of those.
All right. And then I think it was Mr. Ashard suggested something about us easing into, the mobile betting. And I think I heard you express concerns that if you require people to come to the casino, you're missing out on a fairly large population that isn't going to be making a 3-hour trip.
Yeah, I believe that it's our opinion, which is subject to debate, of course, that those people aren't going to come, and that if you're banking on that, you're going to make a ton of money off of the initial time that they come into the casino to sign up. I think you're leaving more money on the table on the backside than you're actually going to make from them coming down and signing up and eating a cheeseburger and maybe playing a couple slot machines. I think that you can incentivize those folks after they sign up remotely to get them in your casino, and we do that, and we all do a very good job. You could also, if you really, really feel strongly about having them to come in person, like I said, you can have promotions. That could be up to the casino operators how they want to. If they don't feel that remote sign up is satisfying their appetite for having that customer to come in, then have them incentivize that customer. Have them give them a free hotel room stay, or have them give them a free buffet, or enter them into a drawing.
Right. And so
waiting 18 months, just either you're going to do it or you're not. And I believe that Mississippi should have remote. We've seen, you've heard from the individual, I forget his name, right before we went, but you heard him say, look, you're leaving a lot of money on the table if you don't have remote sign up. It's just not going to equate by making people come to the casino.
Right. So your preference would be that we adopt something similar to what Tennessee has done?
I would say more like New Jersey, because Tennessee's hard to compare to because they don't have any bricks and mortar. As a matter of fact, they won't allow you to sell any wagering outside of, like, you can't be at any type of brick. You can't be at a convenience store anywhere. So they have to sign up remotely because of the way they're set up, whereas New Jersey is probably a better model for us to look at.
So in New Jersey, you can sign up remotely as well as on-site?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Delano, question?
Anthony, how are you doing today?
Good, Scott.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the recognition. I must say this up front. We're talking about how we're competing with other jurisdictions across our state, and we know that this is extremely costly for our operators to do this, and it requires a significant investment and reinvestment to maintain their market share or to grow their market share. And you have events, unfortunately, like Hurricane Zeta, that are requiring additional out-of-pocket expenses that you're not planned for on your balance sheets or on any budgets. And our operators down on the coast have had a significant hit from Hurricane Zeta and other storm events, and all of our operators have gone out of their way to make sure that they take care of their associates and their families. And I want to say thank you very much for everything that you do. And I'm asking you this, and I'm putting you on the spot. Do you know how much damage your property incurred from Hurricane Zeta?
Yeah, we suffered probably over $25 million between.
So that's $25 million that otherwise you would be able to try to help you with your bottom line, right?
Yeah, because I think our deductible's right around $25 million.
Yeah, I think a lot of businesses are seeing the exact same thing from the same storm event, and I think that's just shows that the care that you have for reinvesting in our state. We appreciate that, and hiring more people. Now to my question. So I heard a lot of the conversation that you wanted to make your points on based around the on-property versus the remote registration. With respect to the other 25 operators, i.e. in-state competitors, would you be injured, damaged, or otherwise competitively disadvantaged by requiring an on-property registration?
I guess it depends on who you're partnering with. If you're partnering with a online provider such as a DraftKings or FanDuel's, I think you probably would have a little bit of an advantage, right? Because you're with someone who's already established. If you're partnering with a BetMGM, who's another big brand that's out there. But I believe that some of the smaller casinos are partners with some of these online brands. That's just who they partnered with, and sometimes it falls in your direction.
So you think that that's more of a competitive disadvantage if you were required to do it on property for MGM?
I don't see it as a disadvantage. Like I said, it's going to happen anyway. I guess we would, have to storm a initial surge where, maybe a lot of those folks go over to a platform that already has players in their database. But that's something that you have to do in business. You have to figure out how to get those customers to come into your establishments.
Okay, the next question that I have is, I'm going to ask the same question of the other operators that are here, but there's been a little to no discussion about something that I think I'm very concerned about, and that is the protection of the individual player databases that you have cultivated over the years. And as of right now, with Sportsbook, you still maintain all of your data and all of your players. I'm kind of curious, I'm not asking for any proprietary secrets again, but if you're allowing other vendors to register people, whether it be on property or off property, if you're allowing other people to operate these online platforms, how are you going to maintain your database and the security of your database and allow for the casino to be able to use the data that's gleaned from the operations within the apps itself to leverage that into marketing opportunities for the casino? Or bricks and mortar casinos is what I should say.
You're on a topic that I'm not 100% familiar with, so I'm not even going to try to attempt. I do know, however, that you're right. Our players are very important to us, and the security of their information is very important to us. I assume that we have a number of internal restrictions and internal agreements with these various vendors that have, do not disclosure documents and things like that. But I don't know exactly the answer to your question, Scott, but I will find out, and I will report back to you guys with that information.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And again, it's kind of a bigger picture. And Mr. Chairman, I'm just really concerned that as we move through this process, that we protect our bricks and mortar guys that have made these investments throughout our state and have employed our people. And I want to make sure that as we move forward with statutory legislation, that we provide additional coverage where necessary to help our bricks and mortar casinos protect those databases and the information, their proprietary information, and that doesn't leave our state or is sold off to other vendors for other uses.
And Scott, thank you again. I didn't get the chance to thank you for those remarks that you made at the beginning. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator Delano. Senator Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. I'm going to butcher this, Del Vescovo.
That's pretty good.
Okay, thank you.
Del Vescovo.
Okay, I'll work on it. I was just looking on the BetMGM app, and for New Jersey, they have casino games other than online sports
That is correct.
betting. Is that what you're proposing here? Would that be?
No, sir. That is, New Jersey does allow online gaming. In other words, they can play slot machines online. They can play various different types of video table games and things like that. We're not proposing that here in the state of Mississippi. It would be strictly based on sports wagering.
Similar to what BetMGM has for Tennessee, which is strictly sports wagering.
Yes, sir. And I have not been on the Tennessee BetMGM app as of yet, but yeah, we're not asking to offer any type of casino gaming. All we're looking for is to keep up with the sports gaming that's going on in the other jurisdictions
Okay.
on the statewide mobile.
Do you think that if we did offer online sports betting, could it be a sort of slippery slope to full online gaming in the state?
I have not seen where that has been the entry mechanism to getting full online. I guess it would be something, for future folks to sit there and discuss if it's in the best interest of the state. I don't see it as being a slippery slope. It's not something that we're trying to, it's not what we envision as being the next step. One of the things I think, and I know that when Scott was in the House back when we adopted sports wagering, was, look, let's be ahead of the curve. Let's make sure that we get to this next level, because the mobile apps are coming, and we don't want to be behind it. So I think that's what our motivation is, based on just the sports wagering aspect of it. And this has been something we've been thinking about for years, because we want to stay ahead of the competition and not fall behind.
Yeah, thanks, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And I would say, let me just add, if Louisiana went ahead and did it, I guess we would say, hey, look, in order for us to stay in competition with Louisiana and not lose our app members, then let's take a look at it. But right now, no one that surrounds us, we're not in any jeopardy of losing, this particular business to a state that's surrounding. So I don't see any dire need for us to even go in that direction.
It does seem to me that comparing our need to get ahead of other states with regard to mobile sports betting is a very different discussion than the brick and mortar business. That y'all are a marquee property and have made a great asset to the state. You made a significant investment. You employ, I'm sure, thousands of people, spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and you employ people, and you are a destination
Yes,
that
sir.
brings people to Mississippi. And so if some other state was to legalize in-person gambling, they'd have a lot of catching up to do to compete
Yes, sir.
with what you've done. But again, the main thing is you bring people to the state as part of an overall economic development effort to bring, and Senator Thompson and I talked about this morning, to come to Mississippi, to go to the Beau Rivage, and then maybe to go see the aquarium, or go to a Shuckers game, or go play golf, or go out. The online platform, it seems to me, is really going to be directed only internally at the 3 million people who live here. Louisiana is going to have it. Tennessee has it. Maybe people from Alabama will drive across the state line to get on a cell phone tower so they can gamble in, Meridian or wherever. But it seems to me that we'll see more that there is not the same investment, and there's certainly not the same potential for job creation. And what mobile sports betting is directed at just at almost entirely at the people who live here.
Yeah.
So because as I said first this morning, the thing that I'm most concerned about is the importance of your industry in the state and the people who go to work in this industry. And what do you say to all that? And I don't would want to be supportive of anything that would hurt your ability to employ Mississippians?
No, it's an excellent question, and I appreciate you asking it. You know, first of all, I would say that this is an amenity to our industry. It's something that is going to give the folks that enjoy sports wagering as a hobby, or as you know, as something that involves them in enjoying the sporting goods. It's going to allow them an extra amenity that they can get in Mississippi, that they don't have to live in another state like Tennessee in order to wager. And believe me, there's a lot of people that, I mean, look at the people that are crazy about fantasy and things like that. There's people that absolutely, that is their hobby. That's what they love doing. So I believe it is an amenity. I believe that, you know, this is no different from the arguments that are made during the lottery. Yes, we were targeting our in-state folks because we knew they were going to go to other states because it was available in other states, and we didn't want them to cross the line, so we wanted to keep that revenue here. And I think those are the same arguments, even though we are basically offering this mostly to our in-state residents. We're trying to get them into a regulated industry, right, and off the black market and out of the hands of the bookies, where we can actually make some revenues. We can actually create more jobs because casinos can invest more money, and we can add amenities to our casinos. I think where I thought you were going with the question, and I'll get back to this part, is where I thought you were going is, you know, you basically have these beautiful, wonderful buildings with all these beautiful amenities, and now you want people to go ahead and sit at home and do what they should be doing at the casino. But that's the exact opposite of what we're trying to do. We're actually trying to utilize an industry that actually is revenue generating, as you see in these other states, but at the same time, it is an extremely good marketing tool, and it's reaching out to demographics that we could never reach out to before. We've already understand what people like as far as playing slots and table games and things. Now this is a whole new customer, and this allows us to utilize the tools that we have available to get these people into our database. And once they're in our database, then we can start marketing them, and we can get them down to the casino. So I think by branding with an amazing company, say, and I'll use MGM and BetMGM, or branding with the FanDuels, or branding with some of these folks, it's an opportunity for people to jump into that database, and now you can start marketing them to your casinos. So, and then back to the question of, are we trying to cannibalize our own? And I know you didn't put it that way, but are we trying to just go with our own? Again, I believe that this is just opening up more opportunities in the state and trying to keep our dollars here. If they're being spent, we want them spent in a way that could be taxable and in a way that can support the industry, versus people that don't pay any taxes and don't regulate them and don't protect their customers and don't protect problem gaming and don't check ages and don't make sure that they're not stealing from other customers' identities and things like that. So I believe that there are benefits, even though most of our customers that'll utilize this will probably be in-state customers.
Does MGM have any business interest in the mobile space in other states, or are you strictly in the brick and mortar casino business?
No, MGM partnered with another company called GVC, and we created a company called BetMGM.
Okay.
And BetMGM is the online and in-house sports wagering company that we utilize.
In what states are you in? Where's BetMGM operating now?
BetMGM is operating everywhere that we have a casino that allows sports wagering. BetMGM is there, and every jurisdiction that allows a mobile device, they're there as well.
And who are your primary competitors in those markets?
Our primary competitors are, well, that's tough to say when it comes to mobile device, because there's people that partnered with some very good partners that have some very good outreach. So I would say that my primary competitors are the folks from when it comes to sports wagering are the casinos that are in Biloxi. You have the Golden Nugget, you have Caesars, you have the Boyd casinos you have IP, you have Scarlet Pearl. They all do a fantastic job.
I'm talking about in the mobile space, not in the
Oh, in the mobile?
Yes.
Well, In the United States or in Mississippi? I didn't hear.
In the other states where you were in
I would say-
BetMGM that is on your phone, and people are mobile sports betting in those states, who are the primary mobile competitors?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, because I'm regulated to Mississippi, but I would assume that it's operators like FanDuel's and DraftKings. I believe that they have some really good technology and abilities to have in-game betting, and so they attract a lot of customers. So I would say that those are two of our bigger competitors, or BetMGM's bigger competitors.
And I know that, I think I've told.
Barstool's is another one.
Right, I've heard of them.
So they're another. So I would say that those are some of our bigger competitors.
And I think I've told most of the members of the committee this, and I've been talking with your association that you're a member of, and they are continuing to talk to, as I understand it, all the members, all the operators within the state, to see if it's possible for them to present a united front and a position. And as of today, we're not there yet, but I know you're still talking.
No, that's one of those. And I appreciate because I do think that that's extremely important to create a united front at times. However, I don't think, I know that MGM wants a sports wagering bill more importantly than any of the things that are surrounded around these issues. We believe that what is working for us in other states is a great model for what this state should do. However, like I said earlier, all but one casino wants a bill, right? So I think that is a very good starting point. How we get there, I believe the legislators have some work to do, and you guys, I trust in you to do what's in the best interest of the state, listen to each of us, and weigh our positives and negatives, but don't hold up the bill to create unity. We didn't do it when it came to sports wagering. We didn't do it when it came to actually adopting the Gaming Act. So one size may not fit all, but please keep moving forward and having meetings like today, and hopefully we will get more and more aligned, but we'll be there to talk our points and talk it up, but at the end, we trust the direction that you take us.
So, and please tell me if I'm putting your words in your mouth, but it sounds like there's a casino that is opposed to this idea of mobile sports betting, and then there are differences among the casinos that are in favor of mobile sports betting. The two issues you raised were in-person registration or not, and the skins issue.
Those are the two.
Are
Those
there
are the two
any other
biggest
issues other than those two from the operators that are in favor of some sort of mobile sports betting bill? Are those sort of the two differences that we need to be thinking about?
Those are.
Are there others?
Yeah, I believe that's, the key, the big issue is that we want to make sure that a casino operator, a casino licensed operator, someone who's licensed to run a bricks and mortar casino, has the exclusive right, because it's a game that we're authorizing under the Gaming Act, and they have the right to promote that game. Now, they can partner with a third-party provider like we currently are able to do, and that's where you get into the issue of skins. There's a difference there where we're not united. There's a difference where some companies want to have more than one operator that they can work with, and then there's some that are happy with just utilizing one. MGM is just going to use one at both of our properties. So we're not going to, technically the number could be 27 because right now we're not going to have one at each property. I don't think we should go to 84 or 85. I just think that's saturating in the market, and it's not what's best for Mississippi. The other issue, yes, you're correct. The other issue is whether we should have sign up that takes place on property, which and never have remote sign up, or have completely remote sign up and not require them to come to property, or have a startup phase, which is 18 months. And I spoke to each one of these issues and the differences that I thought, and or MGM thinks, and MGM feels as if, if you're going to go to, we strongly believe that going to a remote registration is both safe and is in the best interest of the industry, because you're going to be getting those gamers that those that are not going to come to the casino. And I don't believe that the 18-month period is justified. I think that we're leaving money on the table. I think that's just not an argument that I believe MGM is willing to make. We believe that we should dive right into it and go remote from the get-go.
And then I heard you say that sort of, and we realize it's an estimate, but if we were to double the gaming sports bet revenue to the state, what we're talking about is $7 million a year.
That's based on
Which
that's
is
based
not
on the
which is
that's
not a
ba-
whole heck of a lot of money in the great scheme of things, but it would also be more money for your business to do other things to improve your property. Is that the idea?
That's just, like I said, that's just a direct, that's based on that study, which I think probably can be updated. I also don't, I'm not counting, like I said, this is a good marketing tool for each one of the casinos to utilize these apps to capture guests. So you will get more in-house visitation. You're not going to get less bricks and mortar. So yeah, that may be $7 million there, but then there's going to be pockets of money that you're going to be picking up because you're going to be bringing more and more guests to the casinos from these areas that weren't used to coming. So we're going to market those folks awfully hard.
Okay. Senator England, I'm sorry I didn't see you over there. Did you have some questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a brief question, I hope. Anthony, thanks again for being here. This is very beneficial for me. I don't gamble a lot, mainly because I'm just not good at it. But so a lot of the terms and what we've talked about here today is brand new to me. For instance, the term of a skin. I hear that, and I've done a little bit of research and see that New Jersey, they offered some skins just based on skimming an article, and they're not filling those skins, so they may have too many versus not enough. But let me get to my question. The BetMGM, which you guys have, would that be considered a skin?
I guess in the practical term of it, yeah, I guess you could consider that a skin if you're allowing someone to operate under your license and offer an online brand. We don't call it that in the state of Mississippi. However, there is an agreement, revenue sharing agreement between the two parties, and they are able to operate. They could not operate a sports wagering in the state of Mississippi without partnering with us. So in this technical terms, yes.
Okay, and then another skin would be like DraftKings, so that would also be a skin. Is that correct? Or they have a skin? Look, I'm trying to get my terms
But no,
straight.
DraftKings, I mean, I guess the question is, would DraftKings be able to come here and run a sports wagering if on their own? And the answer is no. They have to partner.
Right, but if they partnered up with a casino,
Then I guess
as a
they would,
skin,
they would be considered a skin. I mean,
okay.
we don't, like I said, we don't use that terminology just yet.
Right.
It's possible that if we were to adopt some legislation that talks to it, then we would. But right now, we are operating in the state of Mississippi where you're able to utilize a non-casino vendor who has the expertise in online gaming and offering their branding that would and work with them in a partnership type of agreement.
Okay, and I guess that gets to my ultimate question, which is, if you guys did not have BetMGM and the other casinos that the other 25 or so that we have, if they don't have that, and if you guys didn't have that, would you want to see like an 18-month period or some period where you would be able to, maybe develop that or have people come in to help get the system going?
And I think that's the argument that's out there. When sports wagering first came on board in Mississippi, we did not have a provider. We were doing it completely in-house. We gave up a big chunk of our wagering income to be with a brand that could go nationwide, worldwide, someone that is going to be synonymous with sports wagering. We believe in the brand. We believe that it's going to appeal to people and therefore bring a ton of revenue to our casinos throughout the country. So I'm not in that position, and I don't know if that's the actual argument that they're saying we cannot get these people. It's going to be very difficult for an operator who does not partner with someone that already has an online brand to get that thing started up. It's going to take a long time to get the technology. It's going to take a long time for them to create what's already out there. Did I answer your question? Did I skirt it?
No, I think, well, I guess I made it easily skirtable, but I think you answered it well enough. I guess my concern, look, I see this happening. I mean, it's we've got Louisiana looking at it, or are going to have this, and a few others, and we do want our folks to be competitive. But my concern is that, if we go a way where we offer skins, if I'm using that term correctly, then we're letting folks that don't have to worry about a brick and mortar, have an advantage. I know that wouldn't apply to you guys maybe because you've got a system there that's ready to go, but I just would hate to see, like Chairman Blunt mentioned earlier, that we've got folks that are, employing folks here in Mississippi, and they might be left at a disadvantage early on, or having to go pair with somebody that doesn't have to worry about the expenses that they have,
Yeah, I think that you'll see that actually it's kind of the reverse. Mm-hmm. You'll see that some of the smaller casinos have actually partnered with some very good partners. Scarlet Pearl, for instance, I can't remember if they're with. I'm not sure exactly if they're with FanDuel's or if they're with DraftKings or if they're with Barstools, but they partnered with and they're a very small operator in comparison to an MGM or a Caesars. So. It's just your business savvy and how you go about creating these partnerships. Like I said, we didn't do it at first, and we went full in, and at first it was a little bit bumpy, but I believe we're catching full sail right now, and it's working out very well for us.
Okay, Anthony. Yeah, thank you for that and for helping me understand this.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope I did. Thank you.
Senator Dillon, real quick.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I know we're running a little late on time, but Anthony, I got to ask you this. I think I may have answered my own questions as I'm sitting here, but I remember a news story that I saw last year or sometime that announced a partnership between MGM and Buffalo Wild Wings. Can you elaborate on what that might look like in the state of Mississippi, your partnership?
Actually, I don't have that information. Again, that's one of those things that came out of corporate. It wasn't a Mississippi a deal. I'm not sure how that operates. If it's just maybe a marketing partnership where two big brands join together and market each other. But I can if I can get that answer for you.
That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anthony, I know we held you a little longer than we said we would. We appreciate you coming and answering the questions of the committee, and we look forward to continuing to work with you and MGM.
Well, I reiterate what I said earlier. I thank you from the MGM family also, and thank you from the industry for doing this. I think it's very important to our state, and thank you for your time today. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Next up, Foundation Gaming. Is Greg or down here? Yeah. And do we have, please introduce yourself.
I will do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as you can see, it's just myself. My name is Don Mitchell.
Don, is Greg going to be joining us online, or are you the guy?
I'm the guy.
Okay, that's great. We're glad to have you. Tell us about Foundation Gaming, and then what we need to hear about this topic.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. As said, my name is Don Mitchell. I do have some prepared remarks, and I'll try to address some of the other topics that have been brought up, and then certainly open for questions. But I'm one of the owners of Foundation Gaming and Entertainment, and I serve as the Chief Financial Officer for the company. We're headquartered here in Mississippi, privately owned, and we operate 2 casinos in the state. We have the Waterview Casino and Hotel in Vicksburg, as well as the Fitzgerald's Casino and Hotel in Tunica. Combined, we have over 625 hotel rooms, approximately 1,250 slot machines, and 25 table games.
Employees?
We employ over 650 people in the state. I'm a native Mississippian. I grew up in Biloxi. And so I've witnessed firsthand what the industry means to the state, and appreciate some of your comments earlier because I really see the value and the partnership between the state and the industry. And there's a mutual benefit there. I've always appreciated the way that the state approached the development of the casino industry here, because they didn't only focus on what were going to be the tax revenues to the state, but they focused on how do we maximize the amount of jobs that are being created, how do we maximize the capital investment, and one of the primary ways they did that was fostering competition through unlimited licenses, which has been great. Additionally, the state's, I think, been very prudent in preventing the undermining and the cannibalization of the industry by requiring minimum standards for new casino developments that come in, making sure that they're going to grow the overall market. As a result, we've got a very strong casino industry here in the state. It's invested billions of dollars. We bring in, as you mentioned earlier, significant amount of dollars, tourism dollars, from outside of the state. The industry pays over $250 million a year in gaming taxes and directly employs over 16,000 people, with tens of thousands of other indirect jobs created as a result. So as we consider online sports betting, we want to make sure that we keep these same principles in mind. We want to make sure that our relatively new brick-and-mortar sports books will continue to be a sustainable amenity, and that they're frankly enhanced as opposed to diminished or hurt by allowing online sports betting. So sportsbooks were legalized here not only to keep pace with the industry, but to provide an added amenity that would bring additional traffic into the properties. And to that extent, they've really proven to be a very nice additional gaming offering. As a result, the casinos have invested millions of dollars in the new sportsbooks and have built some beautiful facilities, which have, we estimate, added hundreds of jobs into the state and grown overall gaming revenues, not only through new sports betting revenues, but also the ancillary slot and table game revenues, in addition to food and beverage, that came from the new sportsbook customers. But I do want to put this into context, and let me clarify that, you know, as I mentioned, I'm the Chief Financial Officer, so numbers, I think, are very important. And a lot of times you will hear presenters talk about numbers in terms of handle or wager or bets, and they're large numbers, 300 million, 800 million. I think those numbers are a little misleading in terms of what it means to the state. You touched on this a little bit earlier in terms of what's the real benefit to the state. So I think that as you're working through this, to really keep in mind what are the net revenues to the industry, and then what are the benefit of that to the state. So to put it into context, in 2019, which was the first full year of sports betting in Mississippi, and really the only kind of uninterrupted year that we've had, sports betting revenues were $45 million, give or take, for the industry. So the tax revenues to the state were very small. The total sports or gaming revenue in the state was $2.2 billion. So you're talking about 2% of the total gaming revenue in the state are coming from sports books. We've seen the same estimates that this could grow to 80 or 90 million. We think that is probably an accurate estimate, but we think that's the number for overall sports betting. And so if you're going from 45 up to 90, it's another $45 million incrementally to the state. You're talking about total gaming taxes of about $10 to $12 million, of which the state would get about 7 to 8, and the local communities would get about 3 to 4. So while, look, millions of dollars are meaningful, it's not transformational. Having said that, as Anthony mentioned, we as an industry generally are supportive of this moving in this direction. There is at least one operator who is opposed outright, but then the devil's in the details. And we certainly have some concerns as operators. As a small private operator solely focused here in Mississippi, we are very concerned about the potential for online gaming to cannibalize our existing brick and mortar sports books. Frame of reference, the Colorado numbers have come out recently, and we've seen now a couple of months, they have online sports betting and in-house sports betting. 98% of their sports wagering is online. So we feel certain that there's going to be a cannibalization of our in-house sports books. We want to make sure that if this legislation moves forward, it's done in such a way that it allows us to create synergies that will benefit and help drive, as Anthony was talking about, traffic, new traffic into the brick and mortar casinos. We believe in order to do that, that it is imperative to have registration for online sports betting in person, on site in the casino. The states that don't do that, the states that allow online registration, generally end up having 2 or 3 operators, non-traditional casino operators, who end up dominating anywhere from 70 to 80% of the overall sports betting market revenues. And that's just counterproductive to the whole reason why we put sportsbook as these amenities into our casinos, to help drive additional traffic and other ancillary revenues. So we believe that by requiring on-site registration, it will allow each of the casinos an opportunity to enroll their current sportsbook customers into their new online programs, hopefully be able to create those synergies to drive the traffic into the brick and mortar sportsbooks to help grow overall revenues. Without that, we fear that many of operators, such as ourselves, smaller operators who don't have existing online operations in other jurisdictions, our sports books are going to shrink. They may even go away. Result of that is loss of jobs, loss of ancillary revenues, and we just don't think that that's what the intent of adding the sportsbook amenity into our casinos was. We're also concerned, frankly, about the potential for the unintended consequences that typically result from proposed legislation such as this, specifically the threat of expanded gaming that this legislation will almost certainly attract. We want to be clear that our support for online sports betting is not to be construed as support for online gaming or other expansion of gaming across the state. So as you consider allowing online sports betting, we will hope that it's in a way that will help grow the industry in Mississippi. We encourage you to ensure that the legislation does not become a gateway to expanded gaming across the state, which would do significant harm to the casinos. Thus, we are cautiously supportive. We support legalizing online betting through the existing casino operators, with required on-site registration, and with very narrow language that prevents the potential for unintended consequences, such as the further expansion of gaming. A couple of other items I'd like to touch base on. We talked about skins. We believe that having 26 casinos or so, give or take, I've heard 25, I've heard 28, I think there's 26 casinos in the state licensed. 26 independent online sports wagering opportunities we think is plenty, and beyond that would be a saturation of the market. The other reference that's been made is really this comparison between Nevada and New Jersey. And I think we heard Anthony talking about very similar to New Jersey. Joe Asher is talking about very similar to Nevada. Being a student of the industry and a native of Mississippi, I remember when gaming was passed, and we adopted the Nevada model. It has served us well. Nevada has online sports betting. It does not have online casinos like New Jersey does. It has unlimited licenses here in Mississippi like Nevada. Nevada requires on-site registration for their online sports betting. So we would recommend the Nevada model. And with that, thank you again for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. I hope the folks here who know me know that I hope I'm quick to listen and slow to commit on specifics, but I'll commit to you right now that I'm not for mobile gaming beyond what's being discussed here. So I can only speak for myself, but I'm not for that. So if you have that concern, and I share that concern, and I'm not supportive of that, I want you to know that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are there other issues among the operators that we haven't discussed where there are different opinions on how we should do this? I keep coming back to skins and in-person registration in 18 months and that type of thing. Are there any other issues like that we need to think about?
To be candid, not that we've gotten to yet.
Okay.
But I would, as I said before, the devil's in the detail.
Right.
And we're getting into an area that there's probably more about this that we don't understand than we do. And so that's why I say, and speaking for Foundation Gaming, we're cautiously supportive. We really want to go slow and make sure that we understand. There's a reason why non-traditional operators like FanDuel and DraftKings have a business model that is dominating these areas that go full online sports wagering, and they're throwing a lot of money. Their business model right now loses a lot of money, which is very similar, to what Amazon did when they got started, right? So there's a reason why they do that. The next step would be to go to online gaming, and which would, we believe, be very detrimental to our existing brick and mortar casinos. Right. And so we want to understand things like who controls. I think Senator Delano asked a great question about who's going to control that database. Where is that information on the purchasing? Once you start doing everything online, there's so much information about us out there and our customers that are out there. Who controls that? We don't operate outside anywhere online gaming, so we don't know the answers to those questions yet. Yeah. So, and I don't know where the other operators are on some of those issues either, so we may disagree on those things as well.
Well, I thank you for coming. Any members of the committee with questions for Mr. Mitchell? No? Senator Delano.
Thank you very much, Don. It's always good to see a Biloxi boy up here, and especially one that's done well. We just want you to come back to the state now.
Thank you.
But I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked MGM and Anthony a few minutes ago regarding on-property versus remote registration. With respect to the other 25 operators in our state and other operators and/or state competitors, would you be injured, damaged, or otherwise competitively disadvantaged if we allowed remote registration?
We believe we would be significantly damaged by that approach, because once you make this a battle of the marketing dollars to drive customers just through an online platform, an operator like ourselves, and there's several private, operators in the state who are Mississippi-centric, have one or two operations. We don't have the marketing war chest to go out and lose, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars up front to gather all those customers in order to, launch our platform. For us, it's imperative to have a runway to be able to sign up, get our existing customers who are coming to us, who have a relationship and are in our loyalty program, to get them signed up before we're having to try to compete and lose all those monies on marketing online.
Any other questions for Mr. Mitchell? Thank you for coming up, and I encourage you to continue discussions with your other operators, and we're interested in what you come up with.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Thank you. Next up, Jeremy Kudon from FanDuel DraftKings. Oh, he's going to be joining us via Zoom. I hope we can hear you better than we heard our last presenter. But we're happy that you're here. Please tell us about who you are and who you represent, and your thoughts about this topic.
So I hope this is working right now. Can you hear me, or do I need to turn it up?
I think right now I think you're okay. If not, I'll interrupt you and we'll adjust.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen now. Hoping this works too. Here we go. Is this working? So do you have the PowerPoint down front? I apologize. This is, I've never testified virtually, but I assume there is a sports betting in Mississippi PowerPoint on the screen?
Yes, sir, there is, and we're getting hard copies right now.
Wonderful. That's terrific. Well, Chairman Blunt and members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is Jeremy Kudon, and I am privileged to testify this afternoon on behalf of my clients, DraftKings and FanDuel. For the past 6 years, I've helped them coordinate state legislative campaigns across the country on two separate issues. Daily fantasy sports, which this legislature confirmed was a legal game of skill in April 2016. Thank you. And for the past 3 years, mobile sports betting, which, as I'll explain in a few minutes, is now legal in 14 states. Along the way, I've been fortunate to have some role in almost every mobile sports betting bill that has received serious consideration from a state legislature. Before the pandemic, I was Delta Diamond, no longer, but hope to get back there. I hope today, and far more importantly, in the weeks and months ahead, that I can use some of this experience, that our government affairs teams at DraftKings and FanDuel can use their experience to help this committee develop the best legal mobile sports betting market in the United States. And I should tell you, it's important for us to get this right in Mississippi, not just because it's another potential market that we could participate in, but because we have now a vested economic interest in Mississippi. For over 2 years, my clients have been proud members of the state's business community. I'm hoping that, there we go. Excellent. DraftKings, for example, has a partnership with Scarlet Pearl in D'Iberville. Hope I said that correctly. And it's where it operates the DraftKings Sportsbook, driving in customers, and it's been operating that sportsbook for 2 years. FanDuel has sportsbooks through its partnership with Boyd Gaming at Sam's Town Hotel and Gambling Hall in Tunica and the IP Casino Resort Spa in Biloxi. So it's truly a privilege for my clients to be able to say that they operate in this state and that they contribute in maybe a smaller way, but they contribute to the local economy. With that, I want to start with a somewhat provocative statement that people have said throughout the day to you, but I'll say it even more starkly, which is that mobile sports betting doesn't just, it doesn't just exist in Mississippi. It's absolutely thriving in the state today. Right now, you can take out your phone, click on Safari, enter a search for Bovada.com, and literally by the end of my presentation, you could make an in-game wager on the Ravens-Steelers game. Trust me, I've tried it. It's like 6 minutes, and you're there. And here's the thing, if you're not happy with Bovada.com, you can search for MyBookie.com and start placing bets on that site. And you could probably get to that site by the time I'm done answering questions and be placing bets. These sites can be accessed by anyone in Mississippi, and you don't have to get in your car and drive 2 to 3 hours to a casino in Biloxi or another hour to a casino in Vicksburg to set up that account. It can all be done on your phone, on your laptop, or on your desktop. And literally the only catch is that it's a violation of state and federal law. In the meantime, these sites, which we understand have tens of thousands of customers in the state, don't pay a single penny of tax revenue. No matter how much tax revenue we've been talking about or how much it will generate, these sites are not paying any. They are not generating any revenue for local casinos, something we'll talk about in a few minutes. They're not generating any marketing opportunities for the local casinos. There is no consumer protections and no guarantee that you're going to get your money back. And perhaps most importantly, there's just no regulatory oversight. I mean, yes, they'll try to say that, they want to verify your age, but any 14-year-old can figure a way to get on these sites and start making bets. So I think the worst part about this is that 55% of people who make a bet on these sites sincerely believe that they are making a legal wager. So, I mean, just pause for a second. 55% of the people in Mississippi believe that they are actually betting on a legal site and that Mississippi had mobile sports betting and that it's legal. I don't think that's as much a surprise when you look at the map and for everyone who lives in the state. Most people just don't live near a casino. So while there's all sorts of reasons that people should travel to Biloxi, to Vicksburg, to Tunica, and spend time at the casinos, and I encourage them to do so, especially the ones that my clients partner with, we live in a world of convenience, instantaneous gratification. Trust me, I have 2 teenagers. I know that for a fact. And it's just a lot easier on a Wednesday afternoon to pick up your phone and enter a wager on the Steelers game, which is happening in like 2 minutes, or maybe already started, on one of those illegal sites, than it is to get in the car and drive 90 minutes to a casino. Simply put, if there was ever a time for Mississippi to embrace legal mobile sports betting, it's right now. Now, as this committee knows, Mississippi was one of the early leaders when it came to legal sports betting. The legislature had the foresight in 2017 to authorize sports betting effectively at the moment the Supreme Court allowed states to permit their residents to place legal wagers. In fact, it was one of the first states in the country where someone could go to a DraftKings, a FanDuel, a William Hill, an MGM Casino sportsbook and place a wager on the Braves, the Saints, or Ole Miss. 2.5 years later, however, or 2.5 years after the Supreme Court issued its opinion, a lot of states have caught up and, in fact, raced past Mississippi. Sports betting is now legal, as you can see, in 21 states, the District of Columbia, even Puerto Rico. And 14 of those states have a legal mobile sports betting market. 12 of them, as you can see on the slide, allow their residents to sign up and deposit money into their account the same way that you would for an illegal site, which is, again, on your phone or on a laptop. And this just makes a lot of sense. Can you imagine if you had to go to the mall to sign up for an Amazon account or to the grocery store for an Instacart account? But let's just not take my word for this. Let's compare New Jersey. And I know we've talked a lot about New Jersey and Mississippi. I've got some numbers, and I'm hoping to make a little different twist on what you've heard today. In 2019, New Jersey, which actually passed its sports betting legislation after Mississippi, it passed it after the Supreme Court issued its decision. New Jersey generated $36.5 million in tax revenue from sports betting, almost all of which came from mobile, about 83.6%. I get it. New Jersey has a lot more people. It's somewhat of a false comparison when you use those numbers. I mean, I live across the river from New Jersey, and I agree there are too many people in New Jersey. But even if you adjust these numbers to account for population, New Jersey is still generating a lot more tax revenue from sports betting than Mississippi is. How much? Approximately $6 million more in 2019 and $12 to $14 million at the end of the day in 2020. I think it's fair to say, I understand that 6 million isn't that much, but 12 to 14 million is a lot of money, or it's getting to be more money. It's not transformational, but in this day and age, and I go to so many states and talk to so many leaders, it's a lot. It certainly will be helpful, especially when you're talking about entities that are happy to pay those taxes. I represent other types of clients who every moment they're saying, no, don't tax me. My clients are happy to be taxed. They look at it as almost a privilege to be in this, not almost, they look at it as a privilege. But let me give you the slide that I think is the most important one. It's New Jersey versus Iowa. Iowa passed a sports betting bill, but they did so with this 18-month in-person sign-up requirement. And if you look at the period from August through December 2019, Iowa generated only a bit more tax revenue than Mississippi did. And this gets even better, and I don't have these numbers in the slide, unfortunately, but if you look at the numbers through October 2020, so for this year, for the first 9 months, or 10 months, I should say, Mississippi is not only beating Iowa in tax revenue, it's generated nearly 2 times the tax revenue, 3.3 million to 1.7 million. So Mississippi is doing better than Iowa, notwithstanding the fact that Iowa has mobile. Some would argue if tax revenue is important, then Iowa is actually a step back for the state, not a step forward. But again, don't just take my word for it. None other than Joe Asher, who you heard from, I think, at the beginning of the day, who testified in support of an in-person sign-up requirement, told the Las Vegas Review and Journal in 2019 that the reason that New Jersey didn't adopt an in-person sign-up requirement like Nevada was because, and I quote, some people are an hour or 2 hours away from a casino in New Jersey. The in-person casino requirement makes a lot of sense in Nevada. In New Jersey, it's just not practical. As I noted earlier, I live across the river from New Jersey. I often drive over there to place bets. If it's not practical to sign up for a mobile account in New Jersey, I can assure you, it's certainly not practical to sign up for one in Mississippi. Bottom line is, a true mobile sports betting market is a win-win-win proposition. State wins in the form of much needed new tax revenue. We've just talked about that at length. Consumers win. They don't have to spend 2 days touring the state. The state's casinos simply have to have the right to use one or more apps on their actual phone. And one point that we really haven't touched on, casinos win. Now, I suspect if I was with you, and I really wish I was, I would get some skeptical glances at that statement. How could casinos win? We just heard Don say they're going to lose. Let me explain. The framework we are pushing would require operators to partner with a local casino. Many of them have already done that. I mean, DraftKings and FanDuel are both already in the state and already have partnerships. One with a small casino or an independent casino, the other with a national casino that has two casinos in the state. These partnerships, in turn, will give the casinos an opportunity to negotiate an agreement that will require the mobile operators share a percentage of the revenue it derives from sports betting. That revenue determination is between the two parties, but let's just say it's 3 to 5 to 7%. That is a stream of revenue that you don't have to employ anyone to get. It just comes in the door no matter what. In other words, if you have a casino in Biloxi, the opportunity to capture revenue from an individual who's placing a wager in the northwest part of the state, which you would never capture, it's just too far to come down on a regular basis, you'll get that from these partnerships. But as you've heard from MGM and others, it's not just about the revenue. The casino also has the opportunity to use these partnerships to connect with people that it would otherwise have no exposure. Scarlet Pearl is a great example. I know so many people, I live in the Northeast, who know of Scarlet Pearl Casino. They know it from the internet. They know about it because it's DraftKings' partner. But it is a nationally recognized casino. I believe that the person who owns the mattress store made his bet on the Astros at that casino, or it was one of the places he made a bet. So it has received so much more exposure from this partnership than it otherwise would have. And it's a tremendous opportunity for casinos in states, and I've seen this in many states, to attract a younger audience. That's certainly true in New Jersey and Indiana, where casinos were seeing higher numbers pre-pandemic because of where mobile sports betting was legal, not lower ones. So I know that there was a comment about Colorado a few moments ago, but let's keep in mind, there is a global pandemic, and it's just people are not going to casinos as much right now, because of restrictions in certain states than they otherwise would have. So to say that, Colorado casinos have lost revenue because of this is sort of a false proposition. They've lost, people or customers because of the pandemic. They've made revenue, however, that they would not have otherwise made. It's been a lifeline because mobile sports betting is in place and no one has to drive to those casinos to sign up. So let me, in the interest of time, skip past this last slide, which basically just shows something that you guys keep on saying, so I don't need to say it. There are states around you that are ready to do this. Like I said, even Alabama, which is in gray, they're planning to do something as well. I think there might be a referendum there. Tennessee, of course, already operating. Louisiana and Tennessee is, almost like New Jersey at this point, or even more than New Jersey. And then you got Louisiana, and from what I understand, Arkansas is on the horizon. I spent far more time on a slide that I was going to skip than I should have. I wanted to spend my final minute or so on something I've heard members ask about. Is this safe? Now, one of the benefits of DraftKings and FanDuel is they are not new to sports betting. Let me say it point. They're not new to the customer experience with sports and entertainment. This legislature was, again, one of the leaders on daily fantasy sports and passed that, and we've been operating in Mississippi without any major issues or any even minor issues in terms of safety and consumer protection on the daily fantasy sports side. And of course, we're operating across the country right now in at least 8 to 10 states without problems on this. And it's because we've invested, both companies, tens of millions of dollars into all of the things listed on this slide. There really is nothing more important than creating the best possible environment for our customers and the safest possible environment. We are committed to responsible gaming. We're committed to geolocation. That's obviously, a federal issue as well. Payments and protecting our customers. You've never heard from DraftKings or FanDuel, despite operating in a place with millions of customers, you've never heard of a data breach involving their customers' information in the last 5 years. So, I'm happy to talk more about those things in person. Each company has its own approach. There are algorithms that they use, as you can see, that in their view allows them to better screen out age verification than even if you went to a physical casino. I will end this presentation. I think I've gone through all of this. We'll end my presentation, and I am happy to take questions from the committee.
Thank you very much. I have a few questions, and then I'll, of course, recognize any members of the committee who have questions. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I am a little, I don't know what to make of this chart on page 6 comparing New Jersey to Mississippi and the projected revenue. I mean, if 10 million people lived in Helena, Arkansas and could get on a train and drive across to Mississippi, that might be an apples to apples comparison, but I don't know that it really is. You've got to account for all those people who live in New York City being across the river there. But as far as FanDuels and DraftKings, how many employees do you have in the state of Mississippi?
I'll have to find out the exact number. I don't know how many employees we have. We have the books. We have these sports books that I believe are licensed and operated by the casinos, by our partners. So it may be that we don't have employees in the state, but our casinos, obviously, that we're partners with, have more employees working in our licensed sports books.
Okay,
But
so
again, I should go back to the companies before I say, it's possible that there are dozens of employees. I just don't have that exact number, and I apologize for that.
well, and that's, you raise something that I hadn't thought about, which is if a casino hires you to operate their sports book, you have the software and you have the expertise and infrastructure on how to do that. Those people may be casino employees, but they're using your systems to operate their sports book. Is that accurate to say?
That is accurate to say. I mean, and in this case, we have a physical sports book, so they're using, again, our odds we are the backbone and infrastructure and base, and they're using that.
Right.
Exactly.
Any members of the committee with questions? Senator Delano, do you have a question? Well, I've got one big question, and I'm just going to be completely candid. I'm going to ask it because this is what I worry about. FanDuels and DraftKings are nationally known major companies that have the expertise and the infrastructure to run a mobile sports bet operation. Y'all, I see your advertisements whenever I watch an event, or or when I was driving through Tennessee last week, I see billboards and online advertising, and you are a major national presence, and everybody knows the product that you offer that is currently not available in the state. So tell me what you think about this scenario. The smallest, financially weakest, most struggling, insignificant casino operator in the state that's just hanging on, but has a license. We allow mobile sports betting. FanDuels and DraftKings goes to that operator, negotiates, the terms that operator has to have, the weakest, most struggling operator in the state, and then people can download the FanDuels and DraftKings app on their phone because of that link with that operator and go to town. And that operator doesn't have a major investment, but what they have of value is they have a license. And everybody who in the state can then download the app from the iTunes store, the App Store, and y'all will have one company that employs a small number of Mississippians will quickly take up 80-90% of the market share because of the national advertising that's behind your product. What do you think of that scenario, and have I got anything wrong?
Well, I think, we have existing partnerships. I mean, as a factual matter, let me just take I'll give you the factual and then I'll answer the question directly. As a factual matter, we already have our existing partnerships in the state with Boyd Gaming, a major, casino, with 2 casinos in the state, and Scarlet Pearl, of course, with its one. I think that, and this is a question I get quite often across the country, we believe that we are still in early days. We know we're still in early days. We are in the first quarter of the mobile sports betting market in the United States. I am an Atlanta Falcons fan, and I celebrated a bit too early when I thought that they were going to win that Super Bowl against the Patriots. That's probably where we are right now. I'm hoping that my 2 clients do better. Remember, they're going to compete against each other also. They are separate entities. And you have BetMGM, and you have Rivers, Rush Street, another product that's doing quite well. You have Bet365, the biggest product in Europe, which is in several markets. There are so many operators out there that I don't see that scenario happening. What I think you're going to see is that there will be more competition. There won't be an 80% market share in a state. I have not seen the Tennessee numbers. I don't think you're going to see DraftKings or FanDuel with either one having 80% of the market. And I think that what's amazing about this is that there are so many great operators out there, mobile operators, that a small struggling casino in Mississippi will be able to tap into, has the opportunity to compete. They'll be able to tap into a relationship, share in the revenue, and hopefully use that revenue to become a much bigger and better casino in Mississippi.
Thank you for that. Before we go, any other questions? Great. Well, you're well represented here in Mississippi, and as we continue to study this, we'll reach out to your team here, and we appreciate you being with us today. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for allowing me to do this virtually.
Okay. Our next presenter is Mr. Bill Praskell of the Princeton Public Affairs Group. If you could, Mr. Praskell, before beginning, tell us a little about yourself and your company and what business relationships you have, if any, with operators or people in that business or anything like this, or what any other connections you may have that may be relevant to the opinions you're going to share with us.
Chairman Blunt, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak before this committee today. My name is Bill Praskell III. I'm a partner in Princeton Public Affairs Group, which is the nation's largest state contract lobbying firm based in Trenton, New Jersey. Please don't hold that against me. I want to thank Camp and Bucky Murphy for providing me the privilege of introducing me to you, Mr. Chairman, and for the opportunity to discuss something that I'm very passionate about. Princeton Public Affairs Group is a lobbying firm. I head up our gaming practice. I do other things, sir. But let me just give you a little tidbit of who I represent. But I am here on behalf of the industry. I have in the past represented FanDuel and DraftKings. I currently represent a DFS company called Monkey Knife Fight, which is the third largest DFS company in the world.
You said, sorry to interrupt, DFS?
Daily Fantasy Sports, sir.
Okay.
Which was the origin of FanDuel and DraftKings. I represent and have represented brick and mortar casinos for the greater part of my life, starting out with the Trump properties in Atlantic City. Represented those for over 10 years. And sir, I represent also the Atlantic City Casino Association. And in 2009, when I met a gentleman called Joe Brennan, who actually changed my life, I got involved in two very seminal issues, one of which we're going to talk about today, the other of which one of your colleagues mentioned. I am not here to lobby you. I am here to be a resource for you, Mr. Chairman, and the committee, and I think I can be because I've spent the last 11 years of my life doing two things predominantly: bringing online gaming, casino, and poker to New Jersey and several other states, bringing it to America. Nevada, Delaware, and New Jersey were the first three states in the nation to do that. I did that on behalf of a bunch of offshore, formerly illegal gaming companies because of the Wire Act. I would not represent them till they ceased and desisted, and then we went on to lobby the New Jersey legislature. Took several years under a Republican governor who was also making his plans to seek the presidency, Governor Chris Christie. He had the intestinal fortitude, the leadership skills to do something that is not always popular within his party, and that is to advance online gaming. We know that Sheldon Adelson, who is a great individual, I share his views on the support of the state of Israel, but we part company when it comes to online gaming. Sheldon is deathly against online gaming, and we have seen the reinterpretation under the current federal administration of the Wire Act, sir. What enabled Chris Christie to allow for online gaming, this is prior to sports betting, was the fact that the Wire Act was reinterpreted under the Obama Justice Department in December of 2011, which enabled states when authorized and when they legalize and regulate, to do intrastate internet gaming. Governor Christie then proceeded to work with me in collaboration. He kind of called me the quarterback of this. We began a 10-year process, which is why every state in the nation now can do sports betting. We started out with a ballot referendum in New Jersey, which passed overwhelmingly, sir, by 68% of the voters. We then proceeded to pass enabling legislation 30 days right after that ballot referendum, sir, in 2011, Mr. Chairman. We then were able to launch the first Jersey sportsbook at the Atlantic Club Casino, which is the original Resorts Casino, the first casino in New Jersey in January of 1976. And the NFL came in and got injunctive relief from the federal courts. And then we proceeded to have our 10-year campaign. That campaign ended, sir, I won't bore the committee because I'm sure many of you know, that was a tough campaign. We lost every step of the way. Judge Michael Shipp, who I went to law school with, who's a new federal district court judge appointed by Obama, ruled against us twice on 2 iterations of the bill because we changed it. And then one of the greatest professional days of my life was May 14th, 2018. I went to the court with Ted Olson, Chris Christie, Senator Lesniak from my state of New Jersey to argue that case. And the Supreme Court came back with a 6-3, really 6-2 to 1. There was kind of a gray area, justice, in favor of repealing PASPA, the Professional Amateur Sports Protection Act. Soon thereafter, your state, the state of New Jersey, many others came in, and we now have full-blown sports betting. Chairman Blunt, it's very important. The questions your colleagues and you are asking are critical. When we first started discussing online gaming, this is prior to sports betting, because we started our law, which passed by the legislature, both sides of the aisle. Governor Christie signed it in February of 2013. And by the way, my apologies. You have a tremendous Director Godfrey, who I know, and our Director of Gaming, David Reebok, knows him well. They have a great relationship, a great collaboration, and I want to just acknowledge him. I was on a plane getting here from New Jersey through Houston, so I didn't get a chance to hear his testimony or say hello. So thank you for permitting me to do that, sir. The issues that you're discussing now are the exact same issues that New Jersey struggled with. Governor Christie, myself, Senator Lesniak, Senate President Sweeney, then at the time Speaker Sheila Oliver, who's our Lieutenant Governor now, we all met and collaborated. I lost, Chairman Blunt, all of my brick and mortar casino clients. They were dead set against online gaming because they believed it would cannibalize their industry. Well, wouldn't you know today, all those clients are back and they're sending me bouquets, if you will. I'm saying that modestly, sir, because if it were not for online gaming, this year, Atlantic City casinos would have all shuttered. 96% of their market is online. You cannot get a skin, Senator, in the state of New Jersey unless you're tethered to a brick and mortar retail license holder. Each of the 10 casinos under the New Jersey Online Gaming Act, separate and distinct from the Sports Betting Act, are allowed to have 5 casino skins. Some of them have used them all. Others have waited to make that decision. Golden Nugget, which has a wonderful presence here and is a client of mine, is the #1 online gaming company in America. New Jersey, by the way, and I'm not here to tout our state, we do a lot of stuff wrong, but we have gotten this right. And we got it right because it was a bipartisan initiative led by a great governor. And what we got right is we did not try to pillory the brick and mortar casino industry. We tried to work collaboratively with them. It's important to understand as you move forward and consider mobile gaming, that mobile gaming is in its nascent form in America. It's been going on for decades throughout the rest of the world. We know it's not legal in China, but it is in New Zealand and Australia and Ireland and Germany and France and Italy and the UK and South America and many other jurisdictions. But in 6 years, New Jersey is now the 3rd largest jurisdiction in the globe, 3rd only to the UK and Germany for online gaming. what we've been able to achieve in those years is quite remarkable, and it's a credit and a tribute to the Scriveners who drafted the bill, which I humbly was a part of, and to the regulatory adoption that proceeded afterwards. What were we concerned about? The same exact issues. Should we do skins or should we not have skins? In Europe, there's no such thing as skins. In Europe, you have online gaming companies, separate, untethered, and you have brick and mortar casino companies, and they coexist and they do quite well. Senator Shirley Turner, who represents Trenton, much like your district, Chairman Blunt, she was concerned about two things: cannibalization of a lot of her constituents who would work in the Atlantic City casino industry because it's within an hour and change drive time, and she was also concerned about gambling addiction. Well, I'm really proud that I represent the partner of MGM, GVC. You heard Anthony talk about that earlier. GVC is the largest publicly traded online gaming company in the globe. They're based in the UK. They have a major presence here through MGM. In every state MGM operates, they're able to do the online operation should that state legalize online gaming. But what they did, which is quite unique and rare in the gaming industry, because quite candidly, and I represent the industry, it's a money grab. We're grabbing money from people, and sometimes people that can't afford it. We try to encourage, and GVC has done this, that gaming should not be used like tobacco or alcohol or any of the other vices as a coping mechanism. So what did GVC do? They launched the GVC Foundation US, and that foundation has three objectives: integrity, compliance, and what I like to call responsible gambling. So you will see on every website and on the television commercials in the state of New Jersey, whether it's poker, casino, or sports betting, a 1-800 number encouraging folks not to, bet with their heads, don't bet over it. And what we've also done is we have a collaboration with two other organizations, which I'd be happy to introduce you all to. They're good organizations: Epic Risk Management out of the UK and GamBam. Epic Risk Management goes into collegiate locker rooms and professional sports locker rooms to educate student athletes and professional athletes on the vagaries of sports betting and problem gambling. That's being funded by GVC. Secondly, the other organization is GamBam. GamBam is a game blocking company, so that if you choose to work with GamBam, you can have on your site, and many of the companies are doing this, and it's very counterintuitive for business purposes, because it would be anti-logical to kind of want to block people from gaming. But we've learned a valuable lesson from the UK. The UK made a big mistake. They allowed the online gaming industry to go unfettered. Problem gambling skyrocketed, and now the regulators and most of the operators are not getting along. So GamBam does two things. They will block you if you toggle on their phone, and some operators pay for it, others require the customer to pay for it. You will not be able to gamble on that phone for a 1-year period. And if you try to untether it, you're locked for that year, and you can re-up. They also work with banking institutions. Who's most concerned about problem gambling? Well, certainly parents and siblings and family members of the problem gamblers, but banks, most importantly, because if you can't pay your mortgage, that's a problem. So they have bank blocking technology. That's all being funded by GVC, and it's being funded through the revenue they've generated, which is significant, from online gaming in America, and predominantly in New Jersey. I believe that Anthony mentioned, Mr. Chairman, through you to the committee, earlier, that New Jersey has had an incredible track record with online gaming. I'm not going to talk about casino and poker, because that's not what we're here to talk about today. But in terms of sports betting, the month of September, $749 million in bets without NFL. The month of August, the month of September, where NFL started on the 10th of the month, they did $779 million. The October numbers were closer to $800 million. We're anxious to see in another 4 or 5 days what we do in the month of November. But what is important for you to consider as you're going through this is a conversation I had with Governor Cuomo in January. He had a chief counsel, much like your governor has, who had a different interpretation of New York law and what it allowed. We passed a ballot referendum in New Jersey. Some states can do it without a ballot referendum. The governor's chief counsel believed, his former chief counsel, not the current one, that in order for New York to have online gaming, they had to have a ballot referendum. Governor Cuomo's new chief counsel doesn't believe that's the case. Why is that important? The last two Super Bowls, 2019 January, 2020, those are the only two Super Bowls we've had online gaming in New Jersey, online mobile betting. I'm from Paterson, New Jersey, the Silk City. I live just outside in the suburbs now, and not too far from the George Washington Bridge. Super Bowl Saturday and Sunday, thousands of vehicles, pedestrian traffic, bicycles were coming over the GW Bridge just to come across, and people were setting up hot dog carts and beer carts and soda carts to take advantage of those New Yorkers coming across the border. And Governor Murphy and Governor Cuomo, even though they're from the same party, they don't get along swimmingly on every issue. And Governor Cuomo is very, very upset that the state of New Jersey is actually eating their lunch. Same thing happened in Pennsylvania until they launched late last year. And so I think the issue of whether or not to do it shouldn't necessarily be dependent upon the gross numbers that are generated, because you saw them. It's pennies in a bucket for your budget. It's pennies in a budget for New Jersey's budget. Our budget's $40 billion. We've done quite well with online gaming. But I think there's a couple of other issues that's important too. You cannot address gambling addiction without legalized, regulated structures. Can't do it. Because as the gentleman who preceded me talked about, I believe it was Jeremy from DraftKings, I've filmed a video, which I'd be happy to provide to the committee, funded by GVC, where I'm sitting in my basement office in Roseland, New Jersey, and I got on 4 websites. Now, I had to get permission from the regulators because I don't want to jeopardize my law license or my lobby license to let them know I'm doing that. The best way to attack problem gambling, gambling addiction, which is a plague, right? 2 to 3% of gamblers are problem gamblers. That's usually the numbers. It may be different in different jurisdictions depending on local socialization. That's the way to attack it. You attack black markets by regulating and legalizing it. Now, that's not to say that everything that's done in a black market should be legalized. But we are talking about what is predominantly a lawful thing, which is gaming, particularly the rich history Mississippi has with gaming. You've done well. Your regulators are strong. They have great reputation, not only nationally, but globally. The other issue you've talked about, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to pipe up and answer any questions you have, because I'm not here to promote myself. I'm here to help you, if I can. The issue of skins, should we have them, should we not? That's a question of protection, I think, of the brick and mortar industry. The whole purpose of skins is to protect the retail industry. But secondarily, you asked some other critical questions which I paid attention to. And that is the issue, Mr. Chairman, through you to the committee, of whether or not you should have in-person registration. We don't have it in New Jersey, but we debated it. Governor Christie first, in the first iteration of bill, wanted it in there. And then he took it down from all registration to registration over $100, if you want to deposit over $100. And we worked hard with him on it. Senator Shirley Turner said to me, much like this committee, the first committee hearing on online gaming, she said, Billy, isn't this going to cannibalize the industry? I said, Senator, with all due respect, and with humility, I'm not being an obnoxious Jersey guy here, and we are obnoxious at times. You have a refrigerator and a stove, so do I, full of food, but we still go out to dinner. And why is that? Because we're social animals, and boy, don't we appreciate that more in these COVID times. I'm dying to go out. This is the first plane flight I've taken since March 16th when my state was locked down. I hope that shows to you my personal commitment to all of you to try to get this right and to try to help you do what I think is going to be good for the consumer. Another member of your committee asked about data protection. Consumer protection is critical when passing legislation and the regulations that follow. And let me tell you, there's some dodgy companies out there. And don't forget, the black market could give a hoot about data protection. But the most valuable asset for an online property or an offline property is the license. You jeopardize that license, it's gone. That's your ability to print money. And so there are segments of the omni-channel industry. There's the brick and mortar casino. They have skins on it. Those skins then sit on a platform. There's platform companies like Gig and Kindred and Evolution and many, many more, all of whom are in Jersey and in other states in the nation. And then the skins sit on that platform. So GVC would sit on a platform of MGM's system, okay? And then there's what's called affiliates. Affiliates are the old junket companies that would drive traffic to the casinos. They've now been totally legitimized. That's the way we address the gentleman who spoke earlier with the more modest casino, who was concerned that we need to have in-person registration because he's concerned about the huge marketing dollars. There's an answer to that question. Affiliates solve that problem. Mr. Chairman, I represent affiliates. Cax Media, Gambling.com, a new affiliate that's coming in out of Australia called Finder. And what do? There's two ways to license affiliates. CPA, which is sort of cost per player acquisition, and rev share. So I can do a deal with one of your casinos that says, I don't get paid a nickel until I drive a customer to you, and then you give me whatever we negotiate. Or you give me recurring revenue. There's a higher licensing structure for rev share than there is for CPA. And what do we do when we license operators, platforms, affiliates? We ask for tax returns. We ask for personal disclosure statements, business disclosure statements, fingerprints, which has been a real challenge during COVID, getting fingerprints from abroad. All that stuff is vetted. Your casino commission does it all the time. New Jersey's does it, and all the other states that have it. But it's done at an even higher level when it comes to online gaming. And then finally, a question that always gets answered is, why do I have to give my Social Security number? Social Security number with a company that's in most states, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, is a company called GeoComply out of Vancouver, Canada. GeoComply does a couple of things. They do what's called geolocationing. So when we first launched in New Jersey, my good friends that were in Hoboken and Jersey City and some of the shore communities had trouble because they couldn't toggle through because GeoComply had setbacks because they didn't want Sheldon Adelson to come in leaping over her head saying, see, you're taking bets out of state. We haven't had one geolocation breach, not one cyber breach, and another thing I know you're concerned about is our children. And so is Sheldon Adelson, by the way. There has not been one underage person who's been able to get through. That's done through algorithms and a 64 checkpoint process that's done by age verification companies like GeoComply. Mr. Chairman, I hope I didn't go too long. I can go forever. And I'm here to give you as much time as you need. I'll be happy to come back anytime you want me to. And I appreciate the privilege to be here, sir.
Well, thank you for coming to Mississippi. Any questions from members of the committee for Mr. Pasquale? No? We thank you. We're going to continue to study this and when the legislature reconvenes probably in January.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee.
Thank you. Any other business to come before the committee? Senator Delano moves we rise and report. All in favor? Motion. Thank you all very much.